Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Tales of Herding Gods based on novel. So let's start. From the expression of the corpse, he absolutely didn't expect Guan He to lay her hands on him, so he was shocked. Guan He was so close and he didn't put his guard up, allowing his primordial spirit to be slain, so how could the two have been enemies? Since they weren't opponents, they had to be friends. Goddess Fungo's disciples had allied themselves with the devils. Is there any need for more evidence? Qin Fungo's gaze flickered, and she said softly, I'm still slightly puzzled. Since they were in cahoots with the devils, why did Guan He had to kill that devil? That's because she wanted to use the life of this devil expert to gain my trust, Qin Mu said. Only like that could she get close to me successfully. Goddess Fungo, look again, are there any devil divine arts here? If it was a fight, why did this devil expert die before he could unleash even one divine art? With your eyesight, it surely isn't hard to see this. Qin Fungo was expressionless. And then? The traces of divine arts here show that the battle was very intense, yet no divine art damaged this small mountain village here. They haven't even touched it. This means that the five of them were all involved. At that time, they had cast their divine arts from this small mountain village to destroy the scene. This certainly can be counted as evidence, right? Qin Fungo let out a shaky breath and a smile spread on her expressionless face. She said softly, Cult Master Qin is wise and impartial. Looks like my disciples have indeed submitted to the devil race. I was negligent in choosing my disciples and have nearly caused huge trouble. Hu Linger's face was full of suspicion, but Qin Mu looked as though a burden had dropped off his shoulders and said with a smile, I can't blame someone that's kept in the dark. The devils are the evil ones, and they are incomparably sly. Goddess Fungo was only blinded by them for a time. You will realize it in the future and place righteousness before family. Behind him, the silly road deers were still headbutting him. Qin Mu rubbed his buttocks that were searing with pain. These road deers sure are ruthless and tough. Qin Fungo was still smiling at him. Since the misunderstanding is resolved, I won't be disturbing. Who's there? Her voice became slightly piercing to the ears, but just as she spoke, God Sang Yi's voice rang out. Fungo, don't be mistaken, it's me. Qin Mu finally relaxed, and the hands that were holding onto the jade eyes loosened up. His palms were clammy from cold sweat. Hu Linger also felt like a burden had dropped off her shoulders and said softly, Young master. Qin Mu shook his head. Not now. He had noticed some time ago that the divine light given off by God Sang Yi had suddenly vanished from the sentry in without embroiling city. The god had to have discovered the activity here. After all, Qin Mu had killed Guan He with the first form of Calamity Sword. Opening Calamity was extremely huge, and 10 miles of sword light had burst forth nearly in an instant. It would have been hard for God Sang Yi not to notice something like that. The god had seen this move by Qin Mu before, so he would definitely rush over when he saw it. That was because opponents that required Qin Mu to use Calamity Sword would definitely be remarkable enemies. When he came over to check, it no longer mattered if Qin Fungo was a spy for the devil race or not. Whatever the case, Qin Mu was safe. When he had moved back step by step, walking to the small mountain village, it might have looked like he was explaining things to Qin Fungo, but he had actually been doing that for God Sang Yi. So it's senior brother Sang Yi. Qin Fungo relaxed, her expression calming down. Cult Master Qin and I had some misunderstanding earlier, but it's all resolved now. God Sang Yi walked over and said, It's great that the misunderstanding is resolved, but there's a matter that makes me very confused. Why did all the disciples of Senior Sister Fungo submit to the devils? It'd be normal if one had done so when faced with a choice of life and death, since it's hard for one to stay true to good or evil in such situation, but when a whole family betrays their land, it's somewhat strange. Qin Fungo raised her eyebrows and said, What does God Sang Yi think about this? God Sang Yi walked past Qin Mu and stopped before Qin Fungo. When all 5 disciples submit to the devils, it's hard not to suspect that Master might have done so as well. Fungo was once the mistress of Coupling City, right? 1,500 years ago, When it was invaded, only you and a small number of your people lived. On the other hand, when my nearing city was invaded, even though my whole family died in battle, leaving only me and my daughter as sole survivors, I had protected quite a number of nearing city's commoners. There were 10 times more survivors. He put his hands behind his back. There's also adorning, returning, concording people, great possessing, and other god cities that I know about. There were many more survivors in them than in Fungo's coupling city. Qin Mu's gaze flickered, and he looked at the palms behind God Sang Yi's back. They were making some strange gestures which meant that the situation was urgent and they should leave immediately. Could God Sang Yi not be Tian Fungo's match? Qin Mu was astonished, but he still gave a cough. Two gods, I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll be taking my leave now. The direction in which he was leaving was in God Sang Yi's shadow. As he moved back step by step, he never stepped from Sang Yi's back, as this was the only way he could avoid Tian Fungo's gaze. Cult Master Qin is planning to go to Without Embroiling City? Are you sure God Sang Yi is not the traitor? Why did my disciples that had betrayed us stay so close to Without Embroiling City? The one guarding the sentry is God Sang Yi, and if he's the traitor, you will just be delivering yourself into the enemy's hands. There will definitely be a devil god waiting there for you. You are so clever, so you won't put yourself in any danger, right? Hu Linger's head became heavy, and she felt that her mind just wasn't fast enough. She asked in a low voice, "Young master, which one of them is the traitor?" Tian Fungo spoke again. God Sang Yi had initiated building a sentry in Without Embroiling City, right? The sentry is right in the devil territory, and it has already been more than half a month since it was finished, but there have been no devil gods coming to find trouble. Is your luck just that good, or is there something else? Qin Mu stopped, his head also feeling heavy. It was indeed strange that no devil god had come to find trouble with God Sang Yi even after he had built a sentry in the devil territory. Tian Fungo continued. Even though not many people of my coupling city survived, there were still 2 other gods besides me. How many gods of your nearing city survived? Not one besides you, right? Could they all have died under the hands of devil gods? Where are those 2 senior brothers that walked out from coupling city with you? According to what I know, even though they left the city, they died in the battle for Without Embroiling City. And just like that, you are also the only one that had survived coupling city, Sang Yi said calmly. Hu Linger hugged her 6 tails. Young master, I'm already giddy. Qin Mu looked at her. Me too. But there's still one method to determine who's the traitor, and that's to go to the ruins of Without Embroiling City. If God Sang Yi is really a traitor, there will definitely be strong practitioners of the devil race waiting for us to deliver ourselves there. If there aren't? Just as he said that, a huge body descended from the sky on his right. It was a devil god. The corners of Qin Mu's eyes twitched slightly. He had seen this devil god twice before. The first time was in the Battle of Nearing City where he had killed everyone in Sang Yi's family. The second time was in Li City. On that day, he and Sang Hua had been brought to Li City by the Black Tiger god, and Sang Hua had kept staring at that devil god. He had flame markings on his body, and his eyes were like 2 dancing fires. When he descended, the 3 god existences stood like the 3 legs of a tripod. Devil god Hua Chaluo came from your Without Embroiling City, right? Tian Fungo said in a soft voice. God Sang Yi's pupils contracted suddenly, and he gritted his teeth. Hua Chaluo killed my whole family besides my daughter. How could I submit to the devil race, to him? Hua Chaluo frowned slightly. His voice boomed and shook the forest. Now that the matter has come to this, why do we still need to hide when we are 2 against 1? Just shed all pretense and end this quickly. Respectable King Fu Riluo can no longer wait to see this brat with the surname Qin. The surroundings went silent. After a moment, Tian Fungo laughed gently. Cult Master Qin likes to deduce the truth from clues, so I wanted to play with him, to laugh at him and play with his heart. Isn't that what a devil god likes to do? Qin Mu's blood went cold. Tian Fungo smiled and said, Hua Chaluo, you shall take down Cult Master Qin. I will send God Sang Yi on his way. Cha Luo turned his head to look at Qin Mu, who moved back nervously. He suddenly heard a thump and felt a searing pain as one of the silly roe deer headbutted him again. In anger, he drew his sword and placed it on the neck of the male roe deer while saying ruthlessly, "Hit me again and I'll kill you." Qian Fenggo chuckled and pounced at God Sang Yi. At the same time, Cha Luo bent over with a grin as he stretched his hand out to grab Qin Mu. "You were that black shadow in Nearing City that day? You were the one who protected the lassie of Sang family, right? How heroic, I couldn't even kill you. However, trying escaping now." The roe deer under Qin Mu's sword suddenly burst apart, and an incomparably breathtaking knife light shone through the forest. It even split apart the sky. The knife light passed through Cha Luo's palm and neck, leaving behind an incomparably fine black line in the sky. The thinnest of the black line was inconceivable, like there was none of it. It looked like space had been sliced apart and didn't have the time to heal. The breathtaking knife light then suddenly stopped before Qin Mu's neck, and a tall and sturdy elder stood up from the roe deer skin that had split apart. He was fierce-looking and had a messy beard that grew furiously in all directions. The elder's face was full of anger, and he held the knife at Qin Mu's neck while grumbling furiously, "Mua, so what if I headbutt you? Cripple, blind, and mute were the ones that kept headbutting you. I just did it once and you wanted to kill me. Tell me, aren't you biased? Do you think they love you more dearly than I do?" Qin Mu hurriedly pulled back his sword and looked at the tall elder in front of him in surprise and delight. He cried out happily, "Grandpa Butcher!" Before he even finished speaking, the other roe deers burst apart, and their figures rushed into the sky to intercept Qian Fenggo, who was rushing at God Sang Yi. Her sword light was already stabbing forward, so she had no time to change her move. A long spear transformed into a black dragon to disturb the sword light. Qian Fenggo's body trembled violently. The black dragon kept aiming for the backbone of her sword moves, causing her magic power to be cut off repeatedly and making it tough for her to unleash her power. She was proficient in the sword path, and her attainments in the sword skills could be considered top 1 or top 2 in Supreme Emperor Heaven. Of course, that was before Qin Mu had established access between Supreme Emperor Heaven and Eternal Peace. When Eternal Peace's sword skills were imparted to Supreme Emperor Heaven, her sword skills could no longer be considered at the very top. In Eternal Peace Empire, there were way too many experts whose sword skills surpassed hers. What made her terrified was that the black dragon spear could actually break her strength with little power, shattering her magic. The stars in the sky shone and weaved great overarching heavenly stars force field. The moment she and the black dragon spear collided again, it suddenly crashed against her chest. This was an unusual kind of divine art that used stars and astrology as a divine art. In regards to the transformation of divine arts, Eternal Peace's divine art surpassed Supreme Emperor Heaven by way too much. Qian Fenggo vomited blood with a grunt and stepped back in a hurry. Suddenly though, she felt a chill in her heart. At some point in time, the elder with the knife had come behind her. By backing, she had walked right into his knife, stabbing herself through the back. The power of the knife wasn't strong, so it was obvious that the honest-looking elder was only proficient in backstabbing. He was lacking real power in his moves. Qian Fenggo swept her sword backward, but before the sword light could sweep the elder behind her, another old man, this one carrying a furnace, hit her with a hammer. Flames rose from the furnace on his back. The strike had actually been incomparably heavy. Its power was terrifying. From that one strike, Qian Fenggo's bones and tendons broke, and she tumbled to the ground before bouncing back up and landing down again for a couple of times. Her abilities were exceptional, even surpassing those of God Sang Yi, so she still wasn't dead. She knew she had fallen into an ambush and was definitely not a match for so many experts, so she immediately chose to escape. She leaped 100 miles away, then turned around to see an incomparably tall elder raising his palm to sweep the sky. Qian Fenggo was stunned. The elder had a pair of bright iron ears and incredibly tall. He was much taller than true gods and devils, and he could actually fold up the space in which she was in. It's impossible for him to have such terrifying magic power. As she thought that, she realized that the iron-eared elder wasn't folding up space. Instead, after she was severely injured by the old blacksmith, she had fallen into a painting. Now, she was fleeing through it. Qin Mu immediately executed her divine sword to tear open space, and the painting instantly tore apart. One sword light flew straight for the face of the iron-eared elder. He looked incomparably tall, and his abilities were world-shaking, but his abilities were actually lacking as well. When he saw the sword light rushing over, he knew he couldn't fight it and turned to leave. The black dragon spear suddenly struck forward and scattered the move of Qin Mu's divine sword. She jumped out of the painting and met a sturdy man wearing sable fur and riding a green bull. His knife skills were matchless, and his moves were complicated. He was using knife skills she had never seen before, and the spells hidden inside them had extraordinary power. She had underestimated it and instantly suffered. The knife light flashed, and her right hand which was holding the sword got severed by brute force. Blood spurted and scattered in the air. Qin Mu grunted and caught her sword with her left hand. She was about to stab at the sturdy man riding the green bull, but she saw a peerless beauty clenching her palm. With her move, space broke down and shrunk. Qin Mu's body instantly flew towards the palm against her will. Boom! The old blacksmith rushed over and struck her head with his hammer, stunning her while the short elder broke the moves of her divine sword with his black dragon spear. The sword lights turned weirdly in the air and stabbed her chest. Bang! Her face smacked against the palm of the peerless beauty, and great overarching heavenly star's palm force exploded, turning her face into a bloody mess. The hands of the beauty moved quickly, sliding through her body as they sealed her primordial spirit and soul. Qin Mu fell to the ground with her primordial spirit unable to escape. It was sealed in her broken body. She still hadn't breathed her last, but her gaze was dim. At that moment, a bronze-masked man rushed to her side and stabbed silver needles into her body. As he spoke, his voice sounded further and further away. "With me around, she can't die. Don't worry, we can just restrain her soul and pull it out for interrogation later." God Seng-yi stood in a daze, not knowing what had just happened. Before he could even fight Qin Mu, she was already settled by the weird newcomers. However, Qin Mu had been an extremely powerful existence. Even though her power was inferior to that of a true god, she wasn't too far from it. He was definitely not her match. Seng-yi was prepared to sacrifice himself for righteousness at any time, but it was a pity that Qin Mu would most likely have to die with him. Luckily though, the weird people had popped out from somewhere and fought messily until they severely injured Qin Mu and sealed her. Otherwise, he and Qin Mu would have definitely died. To the side, Qin Mu carefully pushed away the huge knife next to his neck. Butcher grunted, and the huge knife remained in its place. Qin Mu pushed again, but Butcher still didn't allow for it to be moved. It was obvious he was still angry. "Grandpa Butcher, you had cloaked yourself with the skin of a roe deer. Granny's spell is so exquisite that I couldn't see through it and didn't know it was you. If I knew, I wouldn't have held the sword to your neck," Qin Mu said carefully. "I don't care," Butcher said coldly. "I raised you up painstakingly, yet you want to kill me just because I hit your buttocks. My heart is dead." Behind him, Huachaluo's 5 fingers suddenly separated evenly and fell to the ground like meat pillars. "Luo." A strange sound came from Huachaluo's throat, and he slowly pulled back his arms. He touched his neck shakily, trying to maintain his balance. He didn't dare to move too fast, so his every action was very careful. However, before he could even touch his neck, his head lost its balance and slid off to the side. Huachaluo's hands became even faster, and he made a grab for the head. Bang! A loud clap rang out as his 2 hands collided above his neck. When his head fell to the side, blood spurted from his neck, dyeing his hands red. What a quick knife! Huachaluo's head let out an ear-piercing scream and tumbled 2 rounds on the ground before flames in his eyes finally extinguished. Qin Mu was very envious and praised, "Grandpa Butcher's divine knife has reached perfection. I'm inferior. Stop licking my boots." Butcher had a gloomy face, and his hand didn't move at all. His knife was still held at Qin Mu's neck. "You're biased and don't love me. You love mute, cripple and blind, those 3 scumbags, but not me. I saw them having fun hitting you, so I tried it once and you wanted to kill me. Junior brother. B.A. Shan jumped from the bull's back and ran over in delight. Junior brother, you made teacher angry? Teacher has agreed to take me back in as a disciple, but his request is for me to lower my voice a little and talk less. When everyone said they were going to look for you, I said that little junior brother was too smart so he would never get into any trouble, and see, there was no problem at all. Teacher Heaven Knife, why are you holding the knife to junior brother's throat though? Put it down, we are all one big family, so we can talk things out. Butcher swung his knife and it landed on Grand Chancellor B.A. Shan's shoulder. He immediately shut his mouth. His face was all red from holding back his words. Senior brother B.A. Shan, Grandpa Butcher had only feigned his death and didn't kick you out of his family, so why did you have to formally become his disciple again? Qin Mu asked in puzzlement. B.A. Shan came to a realization and pushed the knife away. His voice suddenly became twice or more louder as he shouted in anger, "Old man, you tricked me." Butcher's ears trembled from the vibration, and he looked at Qin Mu in fury. Qin Mu rubbed his buttocks that were still sore. Blind, mute, and crippled were truly ruthless, his buttocks were almost messed up. I should have long suspected something when these silly road deers kept headbutting me. Grandpa Mute, Grandpa Blind, and Grandpa Cripple are the meanest, and even Grandpa Butcher has been brought astray by them. Blind walked over with his black dragon spear. Upon reaching Qin Mu, he grinned. Qin Mu looked at him with a black face and went to find Granny Sai. Blind scratched his head and said angrily, "Butcher, you betrayed me." Butcher felt somewhat guilty and scratched his head. "When did I?" "Old Blind, stop accusing me for no reason." Deaf walked over and said, "I've heard everything. You betrayed Blind, Mute and even Cripple. You are deaf? What can you even hear?" Butcher burst into laughter from extreme anger. The huge hammer in Mute's hand transformed back into sword pellets that flowed back into the chest. He brought it over and said righteously, "Abba, Abba." "Well said." Cripple clapped. "Butcher's mouth has no lock on it." Butcher rolled his eyes and pulled the knife away from Chancellor B.A. Shan's neck while saying pleasantly, "B.A. Shan, this old man can't win against them in talking, so come help me argue." B.A. Shan's two fists crackled from him clenching them, and he walked with big steps to the front of everyone. He cleared his throat and was about to open his mouth when God Sengyi said, "Are seniors from the celestial heavens?" "Seniors? Celestial heavens?" Blind raised his head and looked at this god. He chuckled. "We are from great ruins and not celestial heavens. First, may I ask how old senior brother is?" God Sengyi smiled. "Great ruins was founding Emperor Celestial Heavens once. I'm 20,084 years old." Blind leaned back with a grunt. "I'm 562 years old." Everyone suddenly felt they were very young and filled with energy. Qin Mu came to Granny Sai's side and saw her levitating Tian Fenggo with her magic power. She was using the spells inside great educational heavenly devil scriptures to pull out the primordial spirit of Tian Fenggo to interrogate it. Apothecary was refining medicine at the side, using anesthesia for the soul to lessen Tian Fenggo's ability to resist. Great educational heavenly devil scriptures had numerous extremely strange spells. They often looked like they were of the devil path, but they could also be understood with a righteous mind. Qin Mu had done his studies in this field. When God Sengyi looked over, his heart shook a little upon seeing Granny Sai's spells. These friends from the celestial heavens seem to be from improper origins. They are even so proficient in spells of the devil path. Cult Master Qin also seems like he's from an improper origin. Qin Mu looked excitedly at Granny Sai's divine arts. The 9 elders of disabled elderly village all had their strong points. Besides her beauty, Granny Sai was known for the exquisiteness of her spells. However, since what she cultivated was the devil path, she hadn't been willing to teach Qin Mu too many spells. She only let village chief, Butcher, and old Ma teach him. Afterward, when Qin Mu became the young cult master of Heavenly Devil Cult, she had imparted great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures to him and allowed him to comprehend them by himself. She didn't teach Qin Mu any techniques or divine arts. This was mainly because she walked the devil path and her comprehension of great educational heavenly devil scriptures was slightly askew. She hoped that if Qin Mu followed Def, Old Ma, and the rest in cultivation and reading the classics, he would have a more proper comprehension of great educational heavenly devil scriptures. Qin Mu was originally indifferent to righteous or devil, but later, he realized that both were born from the heart. When intentions were devilish, no matter how righteous the spell was, it would still be devilish. And if the intentions were righteous, then no matter how devilish the spell was, it would still be righteous. That was why he had basically no problem with going between righteous and devil. After that, Qin Mu discovered that the struggle between righteous and devil was the struggle of the heart, while the one between God and devil was the struggle of standpoint and survival, so he became even more indifferent to the struggle of righteous and devil. In the past, when he fought with Great Thunderclap Monastery, Tao sect, and the other sects, he had long ago abandoned all prejudices and didn't place the struggle of righteous and devil in his heart. Now, he had even opened the divine treasure of the devil path and was halfway into the devil path. His horizons were even broader than before. This was growth. A person usually grows up unknowingly, not realizing it themselves. But when they look back, they would notice that they were growing all the time, their mind becoming more mature. Even if God Sengyi was a god that stood high above, his horizons might not be superior to those of Qin Mu. Other than personal aptitude and comprehension, opportunities were also a part of it. Ever since he was young, Qin Mu had undergone the nurture of the disabled elderly village's 9 elders, then had left great ruins just at the time of Eternal Peace's reform. If his birth and experiences in Yudu and Fengju were added, his horizons could be said to have risen to an extremely high height. Granny Sai finally seized the primordial spirit of Tian Fenggo from her body. It was bound, so she couldn't escape. If it did, it could take over another person's body or even grass or tree spirits. If the god took someone's body, it would be possession, and if she took the body of a grass or tree spirit, it would be different cultivation. Which one of you is going to interrogate her? Granny Sai asked while turning her head back. She definitely knows many secrets of the devil race, so it would be very useful for Supreme Emperor Heaven if we could get that information out from her. My methods are too cruel and aren't suitable for interrogating her. She's a beauty after all. God Sengyi was introducing himself to Blind and the rest when he heard that and shuddered. He took a glance at Tian Fenggo's body. Truly ruthless. This woman first flattened Tian Fenggo's chest before flattening her face as well. His gaze fell on Granny Sai's face, and he found it hard to avert his gaze. In his heart, the thoughts of finding a stepmother for Sengyi suddenly popped up, but he hurriedly composed himself. He shifted his gaze away, not daring to have any improper thoughts. We should hand the matter of interrogating Tian Fenggo to true God Pang Yu. Tian Fenggo is a god of my Supreme Emperor Heaven after all, and she was also a leader with a high position. It would be a bit out of place if we interrogate her privately. Cripple chuckled and said, "Why be so troublesome? Let Apothecary feed her some insects and she will definitely confess to everything in just 2 hours. We can also ask Grandpa Blind to use his black dragon speed to separate the spirit embryo and the soul of her primordial spirit, turning her into an ordinary human." Hu Linga said excitedly. Blind stroked her little head and said with a smile, "This spear of mine is called Long Tor. It's not a black dragon spear." That's right. The black dragon spear on his back suddenly came alive and swam around the little fox. The black dragon with only its bones left slowly said, "My name is Longtor, and I'm a dragon king of the devil race. And you are completely right, my lord, and I can indeed separate her soul from her primordial spirit, though that would be abnormally painful." Hu Linga examined Divine Spear Longtor and suddenly thought of an idea. She hurriedly raised her hand up with sparkling eyes. I still have. I thought of another idea. We can ask Grandpa Mute to smelt her in his furnace to turn her primordial spirit into water before pouring molten iron on it. We'll see if she will talk or not. This little fox is also not easy to deal with. God Sengyi shuddered and hurriedly said, "Let me bring her away for interrogation. Gentlemen, I will be leaving first. Without Embroiling City is just in front of us, so may you guys help me guard it for 2 days." After saying so, he grabbed Tian Fenggo's body and primordial spirit and left in a hurry. "Granny, Grandpa Apothecary, why have you all of you guys come to Supreme Emperor Heaven? Qin Mu immediately asked. Granny Sai raised her hand and stroked his head. Qin Mu immediately lowered his head so Granny Sai could continue stroking with a smile. You've grown even taller and are about to catch up to Apothecary. If you grow a little higher, Blind will only be able to reach your waist. Blind wasn't very happy to hear that. Granny, my body is still growing. Did you see God Sengi just now? He's 20,000 years old and his height is terrifying. It shows that the longer you live, the taller you will grow. Granny Sai rolled her eyes at him. Blind, your intelligence is also only so high. Mua, we came to see you and to look at the methods of cultivation here, to see if we can find a way to break through. We have all reached our bottlenecks, and the divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven that you had sent to Heavenly Saint Academy were quite useful. We watched them and learned a little, but if we wanted the whole cultivation system, we still needed to come to Supreme Emperor Heaven to look for more profound methods. Qin Mu had indeed discussed with Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor and True God Pang Yu to dispatch some young divine arts practitioners to Eternal Peace to learn the paths, skills, and divine arts. At the same time, they could impart the techniques of Supreme Emperor Heaven to Eternal Peace, patching up where the cultivation of Eternal Peace's techniques was lacking. With the divine arts practitioners on both sides complementing each other, they could all advance at astonishing speed. However, that only applied to divine arts practitioners. To people like Granny Sai who had already patched her divine bridge and entered the celestial palaces, or strong practitioners that were about to enter the celestial palaces, that wasn't enough. After all, the divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven that headed to Eternal Peace to seek knowledge usually didn't have high cultivation. Furthermore, Granny Sai and the rest required a god-level cultivation system. Qin Mu pondered it for a moment, then said, in that case, who is in charge of Heavenly Saint Academy now? Heavenly King Shi, Heavenly King Yu, and the rest of them. There's also a few elders there, Granny Sai said while chuckling. The scholars of Supreme Emperor Heaven are very dumb and pitifully stupid. They couldn't learn algebra no matter what, so it's best to let the elders and heavenly kings of Heavenly Saint Cult have the headache. God Sengyi asked for our help in guarding without embroiling city, so let's head there. Qin Mu nodded. Everyone was chatting and laughing with one another, so he also quickly forgot about his bloody buttocks and played around with Blind, Mute, and Cripple. The green bull saw the 4 short legs of the dragon Chelin, and his eyes lit up. He scampered over and stood up like a human to walk a couple rounds around him. The dragon Chelin's face turned dark, but he didn't say a word. He continued to walk forward. Divine Spear Longtour transformed into the skeleton frame of the black dragon and rattled as it swam in the air. Coming to Hu Linger's side, it thrust its head and lifted the little fox while asking with curiosity, they have a grudge. How is it only a grudge? It's hatred for a seized wife. Hu Linger whispered. She told everything she knew, about how the grudge between the dragon Chelin and the green bull had started from the time Qin Mu had entered Imperial College. The green bull was a flirtatious fellow, but he just had to be blind and thought that the dragon Chelin was a female. He harassed him every day when he passed by the mountain gate and even gave him some flowers and grass. The dragon Chelin knew he couldn't defeat Ba Shan, so he could only suffer in silence before bewitching Qin Mu to knock out the green bull with anesthesia. Qin Mu had refined lost fragrance, and when the imperial physicians of Hall of Supreme Healing learned of it, there was quite a havoc. Only then did the green bull learn that the dragon Chelin was a male and was sad for quite some time before going off to flirt with some little cows happily. Of course, the two strange beasts began to feud after such events. The green bull thought the dragon Chelin is a female, but he's a male, so isn't this like the hatred for a seized wife? Hu Linger said. The black dragon trembled his skeletal frame and said in astonishment, they actually have such a past. The dragon Chelin looked down, looking calm, but he was twitching his ears. The green bull sneered. What are you twitching your ears for? Damned fatty, you were very slim and looked like a female, why have you become so fat now? I can't even see if you are walking on your feet or rolling on your stomach. Look at me. He bent his arm and all the muscles on his body popped out as he sneered. These are muscles, and what you have is only fat. Fighting makes you bold and powerful only when you are like me. Each of my punches uses all of my muscles, and every strike is powerful. The dragon Qin narrowed his eyes and opened its mouth, spitting out a Qin bead that had a radius of 2 feet. The bead blazed furiously in midair, lighting up the surroundings. The green bull shuddered and fell back a step, transforming back into a big green bull. With his tail tucked between his legs, he slipped back to Shan's side. The dragon Qin opened his mouth to recall the Qin bead and sneered. Fats. Do you know how much effort it took to refine such a big Qin bead? Hu Linga whispered, Fatty dragon, gaining a small advantage will do, know when to stop. If the two of you really fight, you might not be able to defeat that bull. You've eaten fewer spirit pills than the number of fights he's been in with Shan. Be careful or he'll see that you are just strong on the outside. The dragon Qin shivered with fear. He knew that the bull was a battle maniac like Shan. His speed was faster than his, and his endurance was better as well, so if they really fought, he might not be his opponent. I need to cultivate Ancestral Dragon Supreme Mystery Technique more. If this bull sees that I'm not his match, he will definitely be coming to beat me up. He executed Ancestral Dragon Supreme Mystery Technique and trained diligently. Qin Mu saw this and he felt incredibly happy. He said with a smile, I no longer need to worry about Fatty Dragon, he knows how to cultivate by himself. That's right, Bull 2. The green bull hurriedly ran over and said with a smile, Little old master, please speak. Little old master has forgotten, I'm Bull 3. Linga is the big sister, Fatty is Dragon 2 and I'm ranked 3rd. However, I'll be able to get rid of the dragon Qin soon and be ranked 2nd. Qin Mu smiled. You have the green dragon's bloodline too, right? I have received a technique not long ago that it's even more powerful than Overlord Body 3 Elixir technique. It's the #1 technique I have seen in my life. Since you have the bloodline of the dragon race as well, I shall teach it to you. The green bull was delighted and said while choked with emotions, Little old master is so good to little cow. Little cow has nothing to give in return. I can only pay back little old master's benefaction by offering my life in sacrifice. You saved my life in the Golden Palace and I still have yet to thank you. How can this little thing be worth anything? Qin Mu said with a smile. He went through Ancestral Dragon Supreme Mystery Technique, and not only was the green bull was enthralled, but even Butcher, Granny Sai, Blind, and the rest were intoxicated. Great technique. Butcher let out a shaky breath and said solemnly, a god technique that has never been seen before. Mua, this should be a technique that could reach Numinous Sky Hall of the Celestial Palaces and ascend to the Emperor's throne, right? An intense sense of danger grew in the dragon Qilin's heart, and he cursed silently to himself. How will it be good once this damned bull learns Ancestral Dragon Supreme Mystery Technique? Won't he be able to beat me to death? That can't be. I need to cultivate, and I also need to eat more Water Element Divine Vitality pills. This video will end here.